RachaelLyn, and today on Financial Friday, this is how I ended up in student loan default. So if you are not familiar with my debt story, I suggest that you go and watch my video, my $172,000 debt story, and that will give you some more detail just about how I ended up in as much debt as I have. However, this video is more about how I ended up in student loan default. Okay, so just in case you're not sure, I want to give you a brief overview of my student loan journey. So I went to college, and it took me 5 years to graduate because I changed my major, and I ended up becoming a teacher. My parents, from the moment that I went into college, they told me that they would pay for my college education. And about a year after I graduated college, that's when the economy started taking a downturn, and it was difficult to find a teaching job. And so I decided, as a teacher in Kentucky, we have to get our master's within the next 10 years anyway. I might as well go ahead and do that, and I can live off of the student loans that I get back, the extra money. Worst decision of my life, probably. Definitely. Worst decision of my life. I should not have gone back to school. But it seemed like a great deal because my parents, they didn't have to pay all my student loans from my undergraduate degree because my loans were automatically deferred since I was in school. It seemed like such a great deal. And unfortunately, that meant interest was accruing this whole time. And then when I finished my master's degree, I went back and got an extra certification in gifted and talented teaching, which I don't even use, and I actually technically don't have because I still have an expensive test that I have to take in order to completely get that certification. But I have lots of student loans. My undergraduate loans are being paid for by my parents. I am also paying on my graduate loans as well. All of my loans went through default. How in the world did I get into default? Well, what happened was when I finished all of my schooling, and it finally, even with my master's, I was finally done with everything, I didn't have a job. I mean, I had several jobs, actually, but I didn't have any jobs that actually made me very much money. So I signed up for this thing called income-based repayment, also known as IBR. And according to this IBR, I didn't have to pay a thing. My income base was zero. They said, hey, you don't make enough money to make any payments on your loans. Your payment is $0 a month. Since my payment was $0 a month, I thought, I thought this is great. Like, I don't have to pay anything. But interest was accruing. And accruing and accruing and accruing. And since my payments were $0 a month, I didn't pay attention to the bills at all. And I know that this is 100% my fault, but I knew my payment was $0. Why would I even want to look at the bill? There were so many bills that I never even opened because it was $0. I don't have to pay anything because I don't have to worry about it. Well, every so often, once a year, you have to renew your income-based repayment. They need to make sure that you haven't made more money this year so that, they can up that payment. And I would have to go into forbearance, which I'm still not even sure what forbearance is. All I know is that it made everything go away, and I'm sure that it was all applied to the principal balance. I'm pretty sure that that's part of forbearance, but I didn't understand what was happening. I just thought, oh, okay, I have this problem. I owe this money that I cannot pay. This magical word of forbearance means I don't have to pay it right now. It all goes away. Everything is fixed. It's done. So then I'd go into forbearance and everything would be cleared out, and then I would get my income-based repayment again, and it would be $0 a month. And since I was under the IBR, I think my parents thought it was handled, like I was taking care of things, and they didn't have to worry about their part of paying for my undergraduate loans because it was $0 a month. So they didn't have to pay, and I didn't have to pay. And I don't think they realized how many times I had to put my loans through forbearance, and that because I had, not realized that it was time to renew the IBR, and it was just like this very vicious cycle of going, back and forth, and then finally, I think it all came to a head last year when there was a lot of stuff going on last year, and I moved, and I just completely lost track of my loans completely. And the letters that I got, they would come to my parents' house, even though I didn't live there. I just kind of kept that as my permanent address for them. And so I didn't always get the mail right away. I didn't always check it. I didn't worry about it anyway because I had to pay $0. Why do I need to worry about this? So it was just kind of one of those situations where, you don't think about it because you're not paying on it. So you're not thinking about it. And then next thing you know, oh yeah, you do need to pay on it, and it's too late. And then you get yourself in a deeper hole in order to fix it, and then you go back into the same thing again, and then it just got to the point where I guess I was in default, and I think they tried calling me before it was even in default, but I got a lot of really weird phone calls. And if I get a number on my phone from someone I don't recognize, I don't answer it. And so I would get a lot of phone calls from people that I didn't recognize, and they very well could have been calling about that, about my loans. I think some of the phone calls that I got were probably from some kind of collection agency or something that the loans were under, but they weren't saying that my loans were from like Navient or the U.S. Department of Ed. Those were the names that I was looking for because that's where my loans were. My loans were under those names, and all of a sudden this other company is calling me, and I don't have anything to do with that company, so I didn't pay attention to what they were saying, and if they left a message or sent a letter, I'm like, this has nothing to do with me because this is not the company that my loans were under. So I just kind of like I didn't understand what was happening, and I ignored so much all at the same time, and it just created a huge mess. And now my loans are in default, and I don't even know how long they were considered in default before I tried to get out. But I am now in month 4 of my rehabilitation. I have, I guess, learned a couple of things. I've learned that the interest is really, really not fun. Even though the interest is low in comparison to, like credit cards and stuff, it is still very overwhelming. I am not sure about making extra payments on my student loans because, as I understand it, your loans are under a different servicer. So the servicer kind of owns the loans, I guess. So the loan started out with people like Navient and the U.S. Department of Ed and things like that. So then I think it went into collections, which was a different servicer. And to another servicer, which is a default servicer. When you enter into rehabilitation, your loans are under this servicer until you complete the rehabilitation. Rehabilitation takes 10 months, and you must successfully complete 9 payments out of 10 months. So they do give you like a grace month just in case. But even once you complete the 10 months, it can still take up to 60 days before your loans are picked up by another servicer. Now, they did not say that the loans would go back to the original servicer, so I don't know that Navient will pick up the one loan. I don't know that the U.S. Department of Ed will pick up a loan. I don't know. I don't know if they will or if someone else will pick it up. I don't know if it'll like go to the highest bidder. I don't know what will happen. I just know that it can take up to 60 days. And during that time, you still have to continue paying the default loan servicer until your loans are considered in someone else's hands. Once the loans transfer to another servicer, you have to make a deal with them because they'll set a payment for you that might and probably will be completely different from the payment that you have when you're in rehabilitation. So you have to reset that amount and figure that out with them again. My loans right now, more than half, I think, or close to half of the amount of my loans are all interest and fees. And that is so frustrating right now because I have no problem paying back the money that I took out. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with paying some of the interest, but the amount of interest that has accrued, the amount of fees that have been tacked on. And yes, I know it was my fault. I ignored it. I made these choices, but at the same time, I did not understand the choices that I was making. I did not understand the choice to even take out student loans in the first place. And it's just like, I'm a teacher. I make less than $40,000 a year. And I owe $172,000. Even if you take out the $100,000 that's my undergraduate loans that my parents are taking care of, that's $72,000. Like, that's almost 2 entire years worth of work as a teacher. Not to mention the fact that it's going to be accruing interest this whole time, and it's going to be more that I end up paying back of 2 years worth of teaching. Like, I mean, like complete 100%. Like, I can't even pay bills. All of my paychecks got to go to them, all of it, which is not possible. You can't live on nothing. Even when you live with your parents, you can't live on nothing. I decided not to make extra payments on my student loans while they are in default and while they are in rehabilitation. I'm kind of hoping that maybe I might be able to get some of those fees removed and maybe even some of the interest removed. There is also a large 18% default fee that is tacked on when you enter into default. So I'm really hoping that I can get some of that removed. And if I'm just afraid that if I pay extra, then like it'll be like I'm already covering that and then they won't take as much off, if that makes any sense. Right now, what I am doing is just saving money, as much money as I possibly can, and just putting it in the bank, saving. And so in my bank accounts, I actually have 3 separate banks. I have my main checking account, I have another checking account that my student loans are paid out of. It's an automatic payment. That's the only way that they would set it up. which is fine, because then I don't have to remember it. It's automatic. I just have to remember to put money in there if it starts running low, or actually I just put in money in there once a month, and then all 3 of the student loans take their money out on the day that it's supposed to come out. I highly recommend that, just in case anything happens. Just make sure that you always have enough money in there well before your next payment is due. That way you can keep track of it. It's separate, just in case they ever just try to make a double payment one month, or if they ever try to like take more money out. I just recommend having a separate account for that, just in case. I think that's more likely to happen if you're dealing with credit cards than you are with student loans, but you never know. I just feel safer having it come out of a different account than my main checking account. So once my loans are out of rehabilitation, my plan is to pay off my lowest loan, which was originally through Navient, and it is about $11,000 to $12,000 right now. And if I save for a whole year, I am really hoping that I can pay that loan off completely, 100%. Just, it's done. And then start attacking my next loan, which is about $60,000, oh gosh, I can't even remember how much it is. It's like $60,000 to $62,000 that I owe on that loan. So that's my plan, and I don't know if that's the best plan. I'd like to know what you think. If you think that I should go ahead and make extra payments on my student loans right now, or if saving my money to kind of like punch them in the face, that's what I like to say, is a good idea. So let me know down in the comments below what you think is best. If you know anything about student loan default and rehabilitation, I'd love to know what you think about that. And if you are interested in following me in my debt-free journey, I am also on a weight loss journey. You can hit that subscribe button and follow both of these losing debt and losing weight journeys.